Hi, and welcome to Crooked Tree Adventures, Ghost Trails and Ghost Tales. I'll be taking you on some old trails and be sharing some old tales. As I exit the airport in Seattle, the wind catches my coat and whips it open to reveal the cold winter air that chills me to the bone. As I contemplate the night ahead, the long drive over the pass to Spokane, I dread the snow that is already falling and gathering around. As I make my way to my vehicle, remove the snow that is gathered on, start the engine, and warm the vehicle, I listen to the weather station. My fears were true. We had a snowstorm that would last for days. As I put my car in drive and wind my way out of the Seattle lights into the darkness, I travel the mountain pass over to Spokane. As I make my way over that treacherous pass, many long hours later into Spokane, I drop my supplies and head for the Canadian border. Along this long, dark stretch of highway, you might see another vehicle. Or you may run into small little towns that look deserted. As I struggled to keep my vehicle on the road, the snowdrifts were getting higher than my vehicle off the side of the road. I decided it was time to pull into one of these small, deserted-looking little towns on the side of the highway. As I enter this small town, off the side of the road, you could see vehicles that had not made it to their destination. Corners of their vehicles sticking out above the snow. As I make my way into this small little town, I see a small light in the distance, which worked out to be the general store. As I parked and exited my vehicle to inquire of the roads ahead, or a hotel room that I may be able to stay in, I walk into the local store. "Good day," says the teller, and over by the coffee machine, I could see a police officer enjoying the local warm coffee pot. As I gather a few items from the shelves in the store, I make my way to the teller to inquire of a hotel room or how the roads are ahead. The police officer heard of my inquiry and slowly walked over to the counter and said, "Ma'am, you won't be going anywhere today. I'm in charge of those highways, and I've shut them down. But you're welcome to stay at the local hotel just kitty corner from the store." I look out across the street. You could see this faint little light flickering amongst the snow that was falling so thick that you could barely see lights. I nodded to the officer and thanked him, and I then asked him if there was somewhere local that I might be able to get something to eat. He said there was a local diner at the end of the street on the right-hand side, where people gather for their evening meals. It should still be open by the time I go and reserve my room. I thanked the officer and exited the store. When I exited the store, I couldn't help but let the shiver go up my spine that I was holding back as I spoke with the people inside. There's something about this small town. It gave off a weird vibe. As I wrap myself up from the wind and cold, I jog across the street through the deep snow that is accumulating on the ground. I hear voices and laughter in the background. I stop and turn to see the pub lights are on. As I look into the windows of the pub, I don't see anybody. I couldn't help but notice as I walked up to the hotel door, a thought went through my mind that this hotel is very, very old. I had a little chuckle thinking, it's probably got dial-up phones, that's how outdated it was. As I entered the door, the lady that ran the hotel came from her back room behind her curtain. She was a short little lady with dark hair, big beady eyes, and a smile that was very crooked. I found this an awkward moment with this woman, so I quickly paid for my room, asked for directions, and said goodnight to the lady, who never spoke 2 words to me. She pointed to a room across the way through the blizzardy snow and smiled. I grabbed my key and off I went. I slid the key into the door of the hotel room, opened the door, and as I stepped inside, I looked at the telephone and had to laugh. Settled in my much outdated room, I decided that it was time to walk down the street to the diner. Thinking of my experience with the lady at the hotel room, I had to smile at myself for letting creepiness get upon me. As I entered into the diner and took my place at a table, I settled in and started to look at the menu as I looked over at the people that were staring at me. To my surprise, as I made eye contact with these people, they just kept staring at me. I started to feel very uncomfortable, so I reached over and grabbed a newspaper that was laying there and proceeded to read the newspaper to distract me from these strange people. The woman that approached my table to take my order only pointed at the special that was centered in the middle of the table. Without saying anything to me, she gestured towards the special, so I suspected that this was all that was left, for it was close to closing. I nodded my head and thanked her and handed her my menu. As I looked up and looked into the back of the kitchen, there was a man in the background peeking around the corner. Much like the face of the woman at the hotel, he had a grotesque figure to his face. I shook my head and looked down and continued to read my paper. While reading my paper, I could hear the chatter of the families across the restaurant, the ones that had been staring at me. As I lift my head to receive my meal and carry on reading my paper and enjoying my meal, I get to a part of the paper that made my mouth drop open. The article read, "House for rent, $600 a month, windows included." I couldn't help but burst out laughing. And as I did this, I look over at the crowd of people that had been staring at me, and their conversation had stopped, and once again, they were all staring at me. I decided that this was enough. It was time to leave. I got up and paid for my meal and exited the restaurant. About a block down the road, I turned and looked at the restaurant through the snow, and into the lit windows, I could see nobody. At this point, I had started to get creeped out. All I wanted was that warm, cozy hotel room. Outdated or not, I was ready to go to sleep. Warm and cozy under the blankets in my room, I laid there and thought about my evening. The snow blizzard was unbelievable. But this town and the people that were in it, they were creepy. There was something very, very odd about this place. And as I fell asleep, my dreams would show me. I abruptly open my eyes. In front of my eyes, the clock reads 3 a.m. I quickly sit up straight in my bed. Something tells me to look to the end of the bed. As I look to the end of the bed, there's a man sitting in the chair. He's bald. He has a grotesque face. He quickly leans forward into me and yells, "Do you ever comb your hair?" He sits back and smiles. I scream and awaken my travel partner. I inform them it's time to go right now. Sleepily, I was told back, it's 3 o'clock in the morning and there's a blizzard outside. Let's calm down and go back to sleep and try to get more rest. As I lay with the blankets pulled over my head, shivering and scared, trying not to think about what just happened, I slowly doze off. I was awoken. I look at the clock. It says 4 a.m. My travel partner is frantic. As I calm my partner down and ask what had transpired, this is the story that was told. He was awoken suddenly from a deep sleep by a scream of a woman. And as he opened his eyes, hovering above him was this ghostly-like woman with long hair and a see-through nightgown that hovered above him, screaming at the top of her lungs, and then turned to fly through the wall into the bathroom, and he could hear her scream trailing off as she left. That was it. Blizzard or not, we were hitting the road at 4 in the morning.
Hi, I am your host, Sophia Zanopa. I hope you have enjoyed tonight's special. These were true stories and true events. They were researched many years later, and there are folk tales of a screaming woman that flies around that town, and also of individual men that are contorted from some sort of accident that went on there. Anyhow, take care. Hope you enjoyed, and hope to see you soon. Head over to earthsvibrations.ca and find all our channels to all our social media. And remember, dance naked on that under that beautiful full moon.